We were kind of meeting up once a week, ourselves and Simon German, to just play and kind of swap tunes, and with no kind of end purpose in mind. It was just like musicians from different backgrounds.
We were also, I remember like picking your brain because you came from a different world, and you were also very articulate about that world. So tried to, traditional music, which was maybe not quite foreign to me, but definitely not something I was embedded in.
Yeah, I remember like a Slow Air, one of the maybe Queen Ale or something, and you were really fascinated with the detail, like the precise pitches of notes and the way notes were shaped was like definitely. We went into a lot of detail with that.
Because we were both, I was really interested in that microtonality and stuff, and Caoimhín was able to talk exactly about the way he was shading the tuning on little ornaments, which I think is quite an unusual thing for someone to be able to talk about so eloquently.
But when you listen to your own solo stuff separately, like, you've probably heard this before, but there's a kind of primordial, ancient, timeless. Clearly, you couldn't have been influenced by cavemen. So how did you get the sound?
I was definitely drawn to like the opposite of a polished sound, because and I would similarly describe it as bandwidth. Actually, if you think of the range of sound possible from a string, and there's absolute silence, and there's the point at which it breaks, and like up near that there's a lot of nasty sounds, and down here this like near silence there's incredible like world of whispers, and most people confine themselves to a bandwidth of what they consider an acceptable tone, and the idea of good tone is this like very narrow bandwidth where there's, in their mind, there's some idea of that is an acceptable sound to produce, and like just saying this instrument is capable of producing a wide variety of sound and they're all fair game. And so I think that definitely allows kind of a rawness and an edge and kind of a roughness to the sound you allow yourself to produce. And I suppose the other thing where that kind of ties in with my view of traditional music is that I'm really interested in older recordings rather than stuff over the last few decades. And when you go like dig back into some older players, their sound, or the sound they produce, kind of the world of sound each player has, is like an entire individual ecosystem that's like embraces all these different sounds, because they weren't trying to polish, they didn't maybe have this external idea of what it should sound like. They just played, they made this amazing music, and I'm really drawn to that.
I like to go back to some of the older musicians and some of the maybe house recordings or stuff that isn't commercially available. And the reason I do that is because all these tunes are, for me anyway, are composed based on life experiences, and just we're all the same family, human family. We all have the same capacity for empathy and expression. And these particular tunes have gone through centuries of filters. And there's probably, what we're hearing nowadays is only, could be only 1/100 of the repertoire that was played hundreds of years ago. But they've survived for a reason, because they still have an emotional connection or some kind of a inherent structure or formula in it that resonates nowadays. Some tunes, I kind of feel like they call you. Like the first time you hear them, you have an emotional reaction, or something happens. I can remember most of the tunes that I've ever heard that I really liked. I can remember where I was, who I was with, whether I was sitting down with somebody and learning from them, or in a session where I was, what I was doing, or even sitting down in the car. I can tell you certain tunes. And
could you give us an example of one of them that really blew you away?
The For My Lass is a great tune, common tune. It's a tune that I associate with being woken up by my father. Being upstairs, and Saturday morning, Dad getting up early in the morning, blasting out tunes, whatever he's feeling in the morning, blasting out, and the rest of us having to endure it. And waking up angry, and then you get over that, and then you listen to the tune, and it's great. I would have grown up with my father playing music all around. There's always musicians, singers in the house. I grew up in Dublin. You have the likes of Mary McNamara, brilliant concertina player, the likes of Martin Hayes, have you heard of Johnny O'Leary, Paul McGrattan, all these great musicians from all around Ireland come back to house parties, waking us up in the middle of the night. Weekend parties, garden parties, going to Hughes's pub, KD's there, and music always around the house.
I remember my dad shushing pubs for me to sing in when I was maybe 10 or 11, I think. I remember my song I sang at the time was on Holly Nolan. Yeah. And that was the song, that was my only song I knew. And he used to really embarrass me. I always wanted to murder him when he'd do it. Like, shh,
the proudest man in Ireland, and you wanted to murder him.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But so that's probably as young as I was. I'd say I would be 10 or 11.
Can you remember there being a turning point where you kind of enjoyed it, or you got some sort of thrill from doing a song, like singing a song?
Well, for me, I started really enjoying singing when I was a teenager, because I went to school with still I think probably the best traditional singer of my generation I've heard, which is Roisin Chambers, and I went to school with her, and we used to like kind of play for different things and got to start singing kind of harmonies to stuff. And that I remember really enjoying that. I was like, oh, this is fun. So I think actually for me, probably singing with other people was the start of me really enjoying it. Like, people talk a lot about, like, kind of about the benefits of communal singing or whatever. Like, I know Brian Eno's talked about it loads, but like, that's the, you know, like, traditionally speaking, you'd have choirs or whatever, but I'm not very religious, so, you know what I mean, that's not kind of something I'm going to gravitate towards. But there's a lot to be said for just like singing in a big group of people all together, singing, you know, good and loud. It's a real nice experience, like same as the Sacred Harp singing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it's a lovely thing, you know.
Yeah, I had in 2011 I had this instrument made for me, or I picked it up in 2011. Like, I had loads of different fiddles trying to find one that really worked for me, and I was struggling and trying to tune them in different ways, and getting the hardanger with 9 strings and taking a normal fiddle and tune the pegs way down, try the 5-string viola, but none of them really like delighted me. And then this instrument just makes me so happy every time I play it, because I suppose, like, something to try and describe to you why it's so special is pretty much every other instrument you kind of come up against a wall where it can no longer expose options to you, perhaps. And this one, every time I play it, it throws out ideas at me. Like, it teaches me things. It's just continually kind of teaching me, which is quite extraordinary, I think, for an instrument.
That's the piccolo.
Yeah. It's built in London, 1919.
Wow. Good wording.
Traditionally played by clowns.
Really?
A friend of mine said to me, not much has changed in the past 100 years, but yeah, this instrument dates back to the 1880s, and it's tuned to a frequency A432, and everything here in radio now, on TV and sessions, it's all tuned to 440 hertz. So this is the original pitch, hasn't changed since like the 1880s, and so it's special in that it's the key that our great grandparents would have been singing to, dancing to, and playing music to. And another really interesting thing about it is that pitch is the frequencies that bees hum at. So if you go on YouTube and go and get a slow downer for bees, it's in tune with this instrument. So it's interesting itself. Yeah. And now this fucking thing's.
Repented shall I never, until the day I die. For the Lord
Our mother is from Arnmore Island, Donegal. And she left the island when she was a kid, when she was 12 or 13, and went to boarding school, and then after she got back she went off to college and then lived there a bit when she was a young woman, and then moved to Carlow. That's where we grew up.
Enough to break a young thing's heart, what lately was a bright.
A bunch of the tunes that I play nowadays are ones that I would have heard my dad learning on the accordion. When he was learning the accordion, I was like a small kid, like 5 or 6. My dad started learning the accordion and everybody in the house was playing. And then my sister Fiona I started going out with Jesse Smith, who's a great fiddle player. He's an amazing musician and his mind is brilliant. Jesse became our big brother, you know.
What age were you when Jesse came into your...
I don't know, 9 or 10 probably. Soon enough after I would have started playing the fiddle. So then Jesse started teaching me bits. Anytime he'd come down, he'd show me a couple of things on the fiddle. He'd give me a CD to listen to, or he'd give me something to learn. When him and Fiona would go away, then as well they'd go off travelling. When I was a kid, he'd leave his entire music collection in our house in Carlow. He'd leave all of his records and all of his CDs, which was a formidable collection of music, you know. That was like so much amazing, unbelievable, rare Irish music. So I had access to loads of old recordings. People like Paddy Cronin and Pádraig O'Keefe and Paddy Killoran and Bobby Casey and loads of people. I remember sharing music with a friend of mine in Carlow once, Noel Burke. I got a lot of music from Noel as well. Noel would be a brother of Kevin Burke, the fiddle player, famous fiddle player. But I remember Noel looking through my music library one day and being like, "Jeez, I think that's the first time. Must be the only library I've ever seen that has Jim Donahue and Jimi Hendrix next to each other." It was very broad, obviously, you know. I got loads from Noel though, loads. Like the first time I heard the Andy Irvine and Paul Brady album was Noel's copy, which had been Kevin's copy, or like the one that he gave his family at least when it came out, because he played on that album. When I'm up in Arnmore, I feel like really rooted there. You know, I can see the place where my great-grandfather was born and my grandparents lived and my mum grew up, and I never had that in Carlow. So I guess I wanted to make an album with a bunch of songs from Arnmore, because there are a bunch of them there that people don't know about.
Daughter dear, be still and be content. There are mere lads in Galloway, you need not lament. Oh, there is rain in Galloway, there's rain at all.
Our dad is a singer as well, so it's because of him really that we're singing Sean's songs, because he's a Sean singer. And when we were small, we were brought up in Dublin speaking Irish at home. Our mother speaks Irish even though she's not a native speaker, so we were bilingual, and the two of us and our brother Owen, and we went to Connemara every summer, and Dad would have kind of introduced us to singers, and singers who'd passed away, he'd show us where they lived, like Johnny Joe Fatchin and Joanne.
But then even, Mam's a musician as well, she's a violinist, and she says she can't sing, but I remember that we each had specific songs that we wanted to hear every night from her, so there was always people singing, and it was a thing as well. I was just thinking about one of our aunts in particular used to, if she ever came over visiting and brought a cake or something, you had to sing for the nice things, and there was absolute chaos if somebody sang your song, but we're a bit better about sharing the songs now.
But there were a lot of CDs and tapes and records as well, so we'd have heard a lot of recordings as well growing up, so you always remembered the things you heard when you were small as well,
How did you yourself end up with Mongoose rather than pursuing the sort of tribe?
Just by accident. I was friends with the girls in Mongoose, and it was we all play all kinds of music anyway. We all played classical music at one point or another, and so I still do both. I don't really perform traditional music so much anymore, unless Saileog asks me to, which is lovely. But it's just a loop that I fell out of, but I dip into every now and then, and I'm still singing for myself, but I wouldn't perform.
Does it influence your harmonies or any work with writing in Mongoose?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had people come up to me after gigs and say, you're a Sean singer, aren't you? Because I can't keep it out of my voice. So yeah, it's there. It's always there.
Sang when I was like maybe 15, 16, 17ish. But then I just stopped because I found I just ended up playing concertina. Like I was always like a tunes player, you know, and I just went full into that for years.
And didn't miss it to the point of thinking like...
Well, not in public, no, because I sing to myself at home.
All right.
So like I was still singing.
Yeah,
I was just doing it to myself,
Yeah.
you know, at home in my house or whatever. Because for me, it's not really a performance element that I enjoy. It's just the actual doing it. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be in front of anyone. So then what happened was in my mid-20s I came across kind of a whole group of people who are now, a load of them are like, you know, professional musicians. Some of the first ones I came across were the Lynch brothers, who I obviously am now in a band with and stuff, but like there was a whole group of people. That's just like a handful of people that were around. There was loads of people around singing songs together and everyone would like join in, and that really kind of, maybe because it was, you know, kind of fun again or something, and like there's more people doing it, that kind of brought me back into it. And then I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I do like singing.
What do you find, what has been the most exhilarating writing process, or the most nurturing and exciting writing process you've experienced?
We tried a few different ones. I guess the first one, out of necessity, was just one of us would show up with some sort of material and show it to the rest of the guys, would learn it, and then we have a tune. Then we've done where two of us, very often myself and Caoimhín, because of the nature of our instruments, would team up, and Peter and Nick on the percussion end of things. But the best so far has been where we're all more or less together, and we can still split off, but so if we have like a week together, we've done that a couple of times.
Yeah, like I suppose, because one way is for, let's say, for instance, if I come up with a whole tune and then ask Sean to make a part for it, there's like very little movement, it's kind of already complete. Whereas, let's say, I come up with 5 notes that are nice and Sean will find some that fit around that, but that will lead it on to here, and he'll maybe extend it to there, and I'll find something that fits with that, leads on to somewhere else. It's a very different way of creating. You're not taking like the limelight and having other people support you there. It's like actually woven together.
And in fact, we can't even remember anymore like who's responsible for what notes, because it's a very kind of combined ownership.
And it's even like you're not quite sure what the tune is, or you know, you might
like which part are you going to sing? The clarinet line or the fiddle line, or the feet.
So definitely quite excited to write more like that.
And we do plan to.
There's space for all of it. Like I'd be pretty. I kind of know what I like to listen to, and that's kind of one realm of traditional music. But it's kind of evolved so much that there's so many other influences, and it's fused with lots of other influences. It may not particularly be to my liking, but it's there, and it's letting people express themselves as people are interested in it, and I guess it's a good thing for the overall tradition.
It's really exciting. Like when we grew up, it was hard to record anything and it was hard to keep things, you know, but now it's so easy and you can hear brilliant music from all over the world at the touch of a button. So, you know, there's no excuse really for brilliant musicians trying to find brilliant music. It's all there. You just have to take the time to go through it, and you're led on to something else that can bring you into, wow, this is this guitar player that we never heard of. Do you remember we watched the thing last night, some jazz guy?
Yeah.
Don't remember his name now, putting you on the spot.
I know, it is true though. I've seen some amazing things, I suppose, of late. You were talking about the internet and how it's kind of opened up doors to seeing stuff that has been around for years and years. I was watching some jazz guitar player and it was videoed from Newport Jazz Festival from the 60s or 70s, and he's just out of this world. You know, I'm just thinking, you've never heard this stuff before.
Together down the dusty way. In the summer we'll go laughing, hand in hand together down the corral.
We do have to be careful because in Ireland and abroad, especially abroad, we have to be careful how we present the music because people are more likely to just hear their own preconceived notion of what Irish music is. So if we play something that sounds like a jig or a reel, they're just going to switch off and stop hearing it. I think there's a lot of resistance to playing traditional music in Ireland. It's associated with like diddly-eye, Paddy's Day bullshit, which is how it is in lots of parts of the country.
In the world.
Yeah. It's like, it's weird. It's like, because Irish music became pop music in the 60s, you know. It was in the charts. It was the Dubliners and the Clancy Brothers and Sweeney's Men and stuff. So it kind of became a bit overplayed, and it became, I think maybe the American market commercialized Irish music in a terrible way, you know. So that now, like, a lot of the time people just switch off. That's the danger with old songs. I do think we're in a golden moment of it, though. It's almost like it took a full generation for it to become interesting again. I mean, that's me saying that. That's a terrible thing to say for everybody that made music in the 80s. It's hard to know what it'll be like in 50 years. I think in 50 years, our kids will probably be bringing home robots that'll be like, hey, this is my friend. And I'll be like, put that outside. And they'll be like, you can't say that, Grandad. You know, I think that'll probably be happening. Maybe the robots will be playing accordions and stuff. It's like my idea of hell.
Creating for us is the most important thing, and trying to create beautiful music, that's it, like that's all that we want, that we think is beautiful, you know. And the fact that people enjoy the gigs and will come back to see us again, it really is, it's brilliant, like it's a total dream.
Adam to come from not playing any instrument, whereas the rest of us have been kind of playing for years, going to lessons. Like, geez, Adam really put his mind to it, and suddenly he was just part of the gang, playing all the sessions and stuff.
It's not just the music itself. It's the scene. It's the Fla and Willie Clancy and the festivals and the audience. It was the whole lifestyle of it that really just blew me away. Like, the music, of course, was part of it, and listening to it and playing it and progressing, but it was just a really fun thing to be a part of.
The backing section were all, like, say, the guitars and Bouzouki and Natalie on the keyboard, and Connor was like a unit as well. Just playing the pipes, you'd be focusing on, like, listening to the old players and honing your skills as a piper and learning different bits of technique. That's where your focus is. But then when you're playing in a band, you're focusing in on how those tunes sound with the chord structure around it, how the piano, bouzouki and guitar work together, and the bodhrán, or the two bouzoukis, how all that works with the melody instruments as a unit. it's a different thing when you're putting sets together for the band for gigs. Like playing on stage and doing gigs is a different thing to sitting in a session if you're going and playing a few tunes in town with your mates. That's just, that's a social thing. Or if you're at a festival and you could be playing tunes all day long, like, and you wouldn't get tired of it. Like.
Thank you. Diarmada Magam. Diarmada Magam.
For me, it was important to feel like you're good enough to be recorded, and to be honest and straight with how you're feeling at a given moment in time, and to trust that. And I think straight away whether how somebody's feeling, and if they're being genuine, how they're feeling. Straight away if somebody's rang you on the phone, if they're upset, if they're happy, or whatever they're feeling, if you know them well enough. And maybe if you don't even know them, you have a good impression, because that's how we're built to be sensitive to that, and to warts and all, the good, bad, and the ugly, just to let that out, and to trust that it's good enough.
It's like the tone of authenticity is, that carries people recognise that, don't they, as soon as they hear it?
I think so. I think that's what kind of cuts through a room. If somebody talks from their own experience, if they're honest and they're authentic, and they've the courage, I guess, to put themselves in front of people, that kind of connects to something deep within people. People acknowledge that and appreciate that.
What you're trying to do when you make music is communicate either an emotion or a state of mind or whatever. If it's good, that's how you experience it on the other end as well. So yeah, there is a kind of a communication, it's like a communication tool type thing going on. But I think you're better off maybe not overanalyzing. Sometimes it can be like not helpful to overthink even what you like about somebody else's music, because you can be kind of like breaking it down a bit too much. Like, if something, if it makes you feel the thing, then just don't question it. It's good,
It seems to me like a lot of the time when people consume mass media and stories and films, music, whatever pop culture is, magazines, I think people end up enacting archetypes. We're all just kind of enacting some sort of character, this thing that's already been created that we imagine ourselves to be, and then we act it out. Pop music has a big influence on that. If you look at the characters and the types of relationships and the types of stories that happen in pop music now, they're so objectifying. That's a massive problem, that people are identifying so much with their ideas, them being their own body image. In folk songs, the stories are centuries old, but at least they're not, as far as I'm concerned, they're not promoting bad ideologies.
Seconds long.